Looked like the other day Bo Calvert was not dressed for practice.
He'll be dressed today.
Oh, he's back? Yep. How about Devin Kirkwood? A little late yet.
Devin's, we'll see what he can do today, but we just say check his availability today.
How about Coach McGovern?
Coach McGovern's not here today.
How does that defensive collaboration work without him among the other coaches?
It works with Clancy is just put in his place, and then Clancy, Ken Norton, Chad, Akaika, and Brian, work together as a group on that side.
Who's up in the box?
Clancy.
Okay. Have you liked how they've kind of done things?
Yeah, they've done a nice job in the last, in the Stanford game. They've, for the new group, for those guys to all work together without ever having been working together, and then to get it thrown on them, the Friday of the Stanford game. I thought they've done a great job.
What have you seen out of a USC's defense on film?
Yeah, really active. They slant and move a ton. Very rarely do they just stay in one defense. They're always on the run. They mix and max coverages, with what they're doing and coordinating the front. A bunch of really good athletes on that side. Alex's defense have always been movement defenses. So we anticipate getting the same. He's done it whether he was at Washington State, Oklahoma, or now at Southern Cal. So really an active movement defense.
How do you feel about the game this weekend, Coach?
We're excited. I think that's the one of the reasons to come and play at a place like this is to be able to play in games like that. It's supposed to be a great crowd, great atmosphere. And, we got a couple more days of work we got to get in. But we're really excited about getting ready to go play.
Cross-town rivalry is true, huh?
Well, it always is. I think when teams are so close in proximity, I think I'm not sure there is any other game where the schools are so close, just from a mileage standpoint. So, you got Oklahoma and Texas, but that's two states. You got this is in one city. It's in Los Angeles. So, I think the familiarity of both teams. A lot of our kids played high school ball with a lot of their kids, either against them or growing up, even in the Pop Warner ranks here in Southern California. So, I think it's fun and you want to compete.
How's the team feeling?
They're good. They're good. We had a good Monday and a good Tuesday, and we're getting ready to have a great Wednesday.
How does this compare in intensity to the Oregon-Washington rivalry that you were a part of for a little bit?
I don't know. I'm not a comparison guy, so I don't even think of it that way. And at Oregon, you could say that the Oregon State game is the biggest game. You know what I mean? I think at this school there's one game. At that school there was multiple games. So, but I'm not a comparison guy. I can't tell you what it was like in 10 years ago when we played those guys. But we went 8-0 against Oregon State and Washington when we were there. So the Ducks handle business from the back of the day.
With the number of UCLA alums on the coaching staff, do they say anything to the players this week compared to that's maybe a little different than other weeks?
We haven't talked about that yet. Today's just Wednesday. We're just concerned with having a really good Wednesday.
How much do you subscribe to the analytical idea of the middle eight and the importance of winning that kind of section of the game and how it
I think
impacts
everybody subscribes to that. It's not an analytics deal. It's just the game of football. The game of football is about possession. So if you finish the first half with a possession and score, and then you get one in the second half with a possession and score, that's what everybody's ultimately trying to do. So it's not subscribing to it or not subscribing to it. It just happens. It's just something that people study and look at, and I think there's benefits to it when you look at the statistical analysis. If you can be the team that scores last in the first half and then scores first in the second half, then there's benefits to you winning. But there's no magic formula. It's just, every time we get the ball, we're going to score at the end of the first half, and then we're going to get the ball and score at the beginning of the second half. You still have to execute and play the game of football. There's also the coin toss at the beginning of the game, so who gets the ball at the beginning of the second half? Or do you not have it the way it just the game fell in the first half, where you don't finish with a 2-minute drive at the end of the first half? They have the ball at the end of the first half. So, it's something I think people analyze, and we obviously talk about it because it's a big deal because of the possession deal, but you may not have control over it either.
How has Sam Razor kind of progressed at tight end, and what does he bring you at that position?
Sam plays tight end, plays center, plays on our field goal extra points, and does everything. Sam's just a versatile football player that can do a lot of different things for us. So he's been one of the real true leaders of this team. He's been around for a long time. Came back after 2 injuries. His rehab and what he's put in, I think the players understand that and have great respect for him. But Sam's just a versatile football player for us that we can plug and play in a lot of positions.
Tracy McDannald was at the game last week. I think he's coming again this week. Have you gotten to know him at all?
Yeah, got to know Kate. Great guy. He's a real good friend of the program. Just got inducted in the Hall of Fame this past year, and one of the all-time great pros.
He's the only starting quarterback on either team to go 4-0 as a starting quarterback in the rivalry. How incredible is that statistic?
I think anytime you can be first off to be able to play in 4 straight games. You know, I would study how many quarterbacks actually had the opportunity to do that. You know, so the fact that he could play all 4 years as a starting quarterback is just impressive in its own right. And then to win all 4 of those games, obviously, you know, is kind of cements his place in history. But you know, he was an all-timer here. You know, and he's an all-timer in the history of college football at quarterback. You know, won the Davey O'Brien, a bunch of other awards. So, you know, Cade's special, and was special for a reason. It doesn't surprise me that he went 4-0.
Chip, what's your biggest concern trying to stop their offense?
They're quarterback. You know, it's a quarterback-driven offense, and he's such a good football player. He can beat you both with his arm and with his legs. You know, he can extend drives. He does a really good job of that, but he can also pick up the tough yardage. You know, I think he's a unique quarterback from that standpoint. Sometimes you get a dual-threat quarterback that's, you know, he's a real mobile guy and runs around all those other things. But if he has to, you know, lower his pads, he will. You know, I think it's just his versatility. You know, so you just can't say, hey, they're just going to throw it every down, so we're just going to play coverage. You know, he can generate things with his legs as well as his arm, and I think it's that versatility at the quarterback position that's a concern for everybody.
Obviously, every game, your defensive line, you want to be disciplined. But with him, it almost seems like he taunts defensive linemen to come get him, and he's buying time. Is the discipline like that much more important in this game coming up on Saturday?
I mean, rush discipline is always important about doing opponents. I don't know about the taunting part. You know, I'm sure if you asked Lincoln or Caleb, they love to throw the ball on time every play and get it out of their hands and hit guys in stride and do it. And sometimes it's, you know, the defenses may disrupt the timing of the routes, and that's what makes him so good is that if you do disrupt the timing of the routes and they don't have the ability to throw the ball on time, he can extend the plays. We're good?